Oh god. Fuck.
What happened?
You were whipping me around in the helicopter and I got hit in the face. Like,
I hate you. All right, well, we can start if you're ready. If you're ready to fuck.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So how's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It's Porter and Tiki here, and yeah, I'm just gonna give you a little final thoughts video on Far Cry 5. We beat it last night. Um, so yeah, what are your first impressions? First impressions, final thoughts, T-Boner.
So, I mean, I thought that Far Cry 5 did a really good job in a lot of ways. Um, like the whole option for co-op, fantastic.
Agreed. Yeah.
Makes it a lot better for me personally because I don't like playing games alone, and it doesn't mean that I need a co-op partner. It just I don't know. It's like just one player games just kind of feel like you're sort of wasting your time, I guess. But
Yeah.
so having the co-op was great. And then a lot of emphasis on aerial stuff. They got rid of the towers. I mean, towers were fine, but they just felt like they were silly. Like they worked, but I mean, now that you don't have to climb towers anymore, you can get helicopters and stuff because that would make climbing the whole tower irrelevant because you could just get a helicopter and just drop down onto it if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like in the previous Far Cries, it felt like the towers were like a mechanic that they'd sort of just left in because it's always been there, you know. And I don't know if you've played the Assassin's Creed games,
Very
but
very samey.
yeah, exactly. Like you climb a tower and then by getting to the top, you unlock the region around. And I'm glad, yeah, like you said, I'm glad that they finally kind of just got rid of that because I mean, in this game, you're a deputy who's from this region. It kind of doesn't, like why wouldn't you know
Yeah.
what's around here? So yeah, I totally agree that getting rid of those towers was a great way to sort of open up the world without, um, uh, what the fuck am I trying to say?
Not shoehorning it.
Yeah, and like without arbitrarily like locking away huge sections geographically of the world for kind of no reason. Like it sort of made sense in Far Cry 4 and 3 because you're a traveler, but it was a welcome game mechanic change for 5 that also made sense story wise. So
Yeah.
yeah, um, and in terms of the actual co-op as well, I felt it was pretty seamless. I mean, there were some disconnect shenanigans, but that you know it's a game, right? Like there's gonna be some issues.
Yeah. You have to reconcile the fact that you're not actually in the real world. You're playing a game.
Yeah, and like there's a few times where UDC like and we crashed a desktop and that was that's always annoying when that happens. But I don't think it's fair to expect a flawless game. So
Yeah, of course.
all right, what else did I write down here? Oh yeah, I just wrote that the game and the gunplay is solid. I mean, that's always
Totally.
been like Far Cry's thing, just having really solid stealth and high action gunplay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always been like like if you're gonna make a shooter game, it has to feel good to play,
Yeah, of course.
and Far Cry 5 certainly does. I mean, compared to Far Cry 3, which is the other Far Cry game that I've played. I mean, I haven't played 4. I think that 4 made some improvements from what I've seen of it, anyway. But I mean, Far Cry 5's like actual gameplay itself was pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing, this is just me being nitpicky, but and it also could be I didn't spec appropriately into it. But I feel like in Far Cry 3 and 4 there were a lot more like unique takedowns.
Sure, yeah.
You could like you could pull the pin on a grenade and then kick that guy, and then he goes flying into guys. But I think that's just the chain takedown perk that I didn't get until really late. So
Yeah,
that
probably.
might just be on my end.
I know I had it for a little while, and I didn't really get the opportunity to do those. I mean, honestly, it was probably because you were, playing John Rambo. You were killing everybody, and there was no one left for me to take down after I did one anyway.
Sorry, that's my fault.
You're the worst.
Yeah, man, that's how I like to play. I like to play quiet. I don't know why. It's just.
And I enjoy quiet too, but I mean, it's always like, well, okay, we tried that way, and now let's just go how. Bang the howitzers out.
Yeah.
Fucking mortars.
Yeah, oh yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, and another thing I put down is that the setting is just gorgeous.
Oh yeah, they did a fantastic job with that one for sure.
Yeah, and like Far Cry has always been about, you know, this sort of power fantasy in a like a tropical or exotic environment, and for us, I mean, we're not from Montana, but we're from a temperate area, so it's not quite exotic for us, but I can imagine someone who lives in the city or someone who lives like in the desert or something, that this, we recognize this sort of scenery, and it's still gorgeous to us. So I can only be that much better for someone else,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I was technically spotted on that one.
That's okay. That's okay. We're not even. I mean, we are trying, but we're not trying. What else? Oh, okay. So inventory management. I don't know. So you've played Far Cry 3, right?
Yeah.
I really appreciated how streamlined that was. I don't know if you remember, like, Far Cry 3, the crafting and inventory management system, but it became like a giant pain in the ass. You'd have all your bags full, and then to sell shit, you'd have to like sell things one at a time. And and this one, it just gave you a quick sell all button, and that was sweet. And it didn't. It locked. Sorry, go ahead.
There were less important things to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't have to be like, oh, how do I get my backpack? Oh, I need like 15 lynx skins and 3 bear skins, and oh, where can I go to find those? Oh, I can't find those. So it's like it didn't unnecessarily gate like just quality of life inventory shit for no reason. It's like, oh, you want a bigger backpack? Here's a perk for it. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that could be, like that's probably just a because one of the cool things about Far Cry 3 when I was playing it was that you had to go out and sort of hunt to get progression for certain things, like you crafting your. I mean, it was unnecessarily contrived, because you're like, oh, I have to go get bear skins for my backpack, and then I have to get like pangolin tails for my grenades. Like that was a little silly, but I mean I understood why it was there. It was like, hey, you have to go hunt everything and then you can get everything, and that was cool, I thought. But I can see how it would be like, hey, why do I have to go and hunt every single little thing to just get better stuff?
Yeah. Why do I need 4 elk skins and 2 badger skins to make this grenade pouch?
Yeah, and they had one of those for everything too. So it was like, for your rifle rounds and then your handgun rounds. Right?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right?
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah. And then some stuff would be like kind of soft gated behind like you need a white rhino to get your 4th weapon slot, something like that. It's like the white you only and that white rhino is only in the last part of the map, so it's like you could technically get it whenever, but you never would. So yeah, I appreciate that.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah.
What else?
So hunt. I mean, you can almost consider that a criticism of Far Cry 5 if you enjoyed it from the other ones. Was that you didn't have to fish, you didn't have to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, if you're playing a Far Cry 5, to fish or hunt, there's better games out there for that. Which, I mean, the fishing in here was kind of like, oh hey, we've got fishing. Who gives a shit? Like
Dude,
if
I
you want
fucking
to,
hated fishing.
I detected that when we were doing it.
But you know
I mean,
what? Yeah.
I didn't mind it. It was like, oh hey, you're in this area, and instead of killing white supremacist cultists forever, actually they're not white supremacists, they're just cultists.
You know, they're quite ethnically progressive.
Yeah.
Bunch of Chinese guys and black guys and gals. But yeah, some people really like fishing, and I guess I like the option that it's in there. I don't mind at all.
Right.
I did get annoyed at the few quests that you had to go fishing, but those were technically side quests, so you didn't really have to do them. We just kind of stumbled into them.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's a nice idea that it's in there, but it's pretty much useless.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go fishing, there are fishing games that have their whole price tag because they have a passion for fishing. And this, so you just like, oh, I've got a fly rod, I'm gonna cast it in here, and I'm gonna just fight against the fish, and then eventually he'll become mine.
Well, I guess the appeal to fishing in this would be that, like, I can fish, but then, oh shit, things can happen. Oh, there's a bear fighting a cow over there, and then I run over and watch that, and then now there's a bunch of cultists trying to butt fuck me. So it's like I guess it sort of can play off the open world madness of this game. But
Yeah,
yeah.
even yeah, and that's fair, but I don't know. It's not just cause. It's not as chaotic as something like that, so it's not quite as silly and
Yeah, I like how I'm fucking defending fishing now, even though I fucking hated it.
fun.
What's going on? Oh shit, Jacob's mind control shit is still wearing off. I
Yeah.
love fishing.
That was definitely like one of my that is my biggest gripe for the whole game was the mind control stuff.
Save it. This is spoiler free. I missed that arrow really bad. What else? Oh, okay. And I don't know how much you dabbled around with this, but this sort of goes off everything else we were talking about. The crafting, it was totally unnecessary, which
Yeah.
I actually really liked. I fucking hated the crafting in all the other games.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay because the crafting actually served a purpose in the other ones because you had to hunt.
Hmm.
In this one, you don't have to hunt, so a lot of the crafting syringes and stuff that you can use, they're not really useful.
Yeah.
And you can't craft life ones, as far as I know. You can't craft med kits, right?
I don't know.
I never tried.
That's how little craft. I don't think I've crafted one thing. Which I guess shows that like you don't need to, because I mean, once we started getting a couple health bar, like once we were past 2 health bars, we really didn't need it. Like, you have a med kit. There's plenty of med kits all over the place. So
And I barely ever needed to get body armor. Like it was largely unnecessary.
yeah, once you get that first health upgrade, I mean, granted too, we played on normal, so we do have to take that into consideration. That maybe we would have run into that more if we were playing on hard, but I can't imagine it would be that much more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they might have made them take a whole lot more damage and deal a whole lot more damage on hard. So I mean, playing on the harder difficulty probably would make it a little bit more necessary to plan stuff and be better, because you can't just go, okay, we're gonna take out a couple of the guys and then storm the outpost, like is usually how we ended up doing it.
I mean, I don't know. I played Far Cry 4 on hard, and it feels like hard mode just makes the early game harder.
Sure.
Like, towards the end of Far Cry 4, and I feel like, given how powerful we are now, especially since you and I repeated the first zone, so we could unlock some shit for you. Like, we were quite leveled up by the time we got to Based region and then Jacob's region.
Yeah.
So we probably could have played pretty much the same way. Maybe a little. I mean, maybe we would have been a little more careful. Try to do it a little more stealthy more often. But it wouldn't have had that big of an effect.
Fair enough.
At least go if we're using the other Far Cries as a measuring stick. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do it, sort of Diablo style. If you have co-op, then makes the enemies a little bit harder.
I mean, well, we sort of, again, at the beginning, it was though. Remember with that very first encounter, like the cult VIP, like we unloaded into him. But part of the reason we got fucked there was just because we were so weak and we had, like, it was literally the first thing in the game we did.
Yeah, and we also didn't have, the weapons that we were going to be accustomed to using and all that. Yeah, it was just like, hey, it's new, and you're fighting a new enemy, and he's stronger. Congratulations, you died.
Pretty much, yeah. Ah, the good old days, back when we were young and green. Yeah, and the last thing I put down in here for the pros is that the game is just like, at its core, it's just a fun game, and especially with the co-op built in. You and I,
everything's always better with friends.
Yeah.
Objectively, especially when it comes to video games. Like if there's an option to have it be available for co-op, it will make it better.
Agreed. Yeah, man. Like, I mean, yeah. What are we doing right now? We're just fucking, we're just clearing outposts, talking shit, and
Let's get a mortar. Make it fun.
Oh god. All right, cool. All right, so yeah, let's move on to the cons without spoilers. It's gonna be, or at least without major like end game spoilers.
Oh, of course.
So, and yeah, I think you'll get at this too. But my very first big major issue was the Bliss Bullet, and that speaks to really, like you were saying earlier, the forced narrative mechanics that they have in this game.
Yeah, I honestly think that it was kind of like laziness is the word I want to use for it. Like let's force narrative, because the way that they presented the gameplay was cool. It's not like, hey, you have to follow a linear like progression of the story. Like, okay, first you got to go here and you got to talk to this person, and that person will send you, like how it was in the other Far Cries. But I don't know, maybe it was us just failing to remember that it's a Far Cry game and it's not a Fallout game, right? Because like Fallout is like, hey, there's a story here, and you can follow whenever you want, but there's also shit ton of other things to do, and you can do those whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it was just us kind of going, oh, yeah, this isn't a Fallout, this isn't an RPG, it's still Far Cry. But yeah, I had like the way that they presented the progression was you go to a region, and then you get your resistance up, which was cool. It felt like you were actually doing something to the world rather than just following the story, which was great. But then the way that they were like, so how do we still tell a story through this? I think was a way they kind of dropped the ball on it a little bit. I think it was like, I mean, I don't know what kind of ideas that they were throwing around in development, but it just seemed like it was like almost a lazy way of doing it. It was like, hey, every once in a while you're gonna get captured, and then a whole bunch of story stuff is gonna happen to you, and then you're gonna go back into the world and do whatever you want. It just didn't feel like that was anything that would happen. Because remember how you were really pissed off about the Bliss Bullet, and I didn't actually think that it was like the worst sort of way, like the tranquilizer darts in the Bliss Bullet. Like if you're going to capture someone, that's how you'd want to do it. Knock them out first and then bring them in. But why?
Mhm.
Like, anytime we ever go to an outpost or did a quest ever, like, they sent their chosen after us and they were trying to blow us up. Like, why did they change their mind halfway through every single region about how to get us together? You don't get how that one worked.
Yeah, and also like, yeah, you're gonna capture me, and then I'm gonna spoil your plans, and then you're gonna capture me, I'm gonna spoil your plans, and like, it's one of those things where, again, we get it, it's a game. We don't want it to be we don't want it to be totally realistic, because if it was totally realistic, the bad guy would just have killed us right there every time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they still need to they need to try to give us the guise of realism, at least in a game like this, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what the fuck was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else too. It's gone. It's gone. Yeah, no, I think I agree with the word you used, lazy. Because if you think at other games, you know, there are other games like Far Cry, the other Far Cries, for example, even like they have story relevant missions that have to happen at a certain time, or like Grand Theft Auto, like you do something and then another mission pops up and you're automatically, that's automatically what happens in the game. It's like, oh, you get a waypoint here, you have to go here, you can't really do anything else. Like they can sort of pigeonhole us into a narrative mission without totally hijacking player agency, you know.
Yeah.
Or
That's a
even
good way of putting it. Hijacking player agency. Like, you didn't get to control at all. With Faith, you did a little bit, but you didn't get to control at all when you get to like partake in story missions in Jacob or John's region. Like, it happened to you whether you wanted to or not.
yeah, and again, yeah, it's a game, right? But some of the times, and we fucking documented it too. Like, it was just ridiculous. Like, we landing in a
in
plane
the middle of a field.
in the middle of a field, no one's around. Bliss bullet. What? Or, you know, we're up in the mountains on Jacob's Reasoning, arrow out of nowhere. Like,
I mean that makes sense in that, because like in that context, because like, oh hey, I'm in camo and I'm just waiting for you.
I guess so. Yeah.
Like, yeah, we can call it bullshit because it was, but you know, it's just you can justify it.
hmm
But yeah,
It just left again, it's a game, but it left a bad taste in my mouth every single time.
yeah,
And it just ended up being eyes rolling. Okay, like getting to the next level in the resistance tree
Yeah.
went from being like, oh cool, we're at the next level, to be like, okay, when's this shit gonna get forced upon us? And like, it even happened one time where like it happened right after a mission, and like my wife had just gotten home, so I had to go do shit, but it had just forced a narrative thing onto us. So like I couldn't without just quitting, you know. It's no bueno.
yeah. That's sort of my biggest gripe and criticism about it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, how much does it really matter? Because if I were to say, I think the story itself started out pretty cool, but then it just got silly.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of, I feel like that's just a symptom of open world games in general, like this. But yeah, it definitely, yeah, we can talk about the ending and shit like that in the next video, because I got a bunch to say about that. But yeah, definitely did sort of peter out towards the end, but I think that's just the nature of this game, right? It follows a very controlled gameplay loop, and it sticks to it. Yeah.
Which is kind of a symptom of how Ubisoft does their games in general.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like Assassin's Creed, sort of the same way. I've never
Like they have a very particular way of creating their games, which is, hey, we found a system that works. Why mess with it?
yeah, and like as a business, like from a business perspective, wow, perspective point. I don't know what word that is. Perspective. It makes sense, right? Like these games, you know.
Yeah, you bought the first one because you liked it, why mess with it to the point where you're gonna go, I like the first one, I don't like the third one.
Exactly, and if we're being honest with ourselves, like
We would do that too.
yeah, and at the very beginning too, we said like they got rid of some of the really annoying shit that people were complaining about, like those towers. You know, those towers are gone. No more towers. So maybe in Far Cry 6 they'll be like, okay, we'll switch up the dynamic just a little bit.
You know,
Yeah.
I hope that they do co-op again, that they'll actually like they should integrate co-op somehow.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna bring that up because obviously I didn't experience it because I was the main party, but yeah, you kind of got shafted out of a lot of progression.
Everything. If you're gonna gate stuff through progression like that, it's there's not a whole lot of incentive to actually play co-op with another person other than I don't really give a shit about the game. I just want to play with you, and because that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the only thing that I could buy without actually progressing in the game myself was the special weapons that cost like $9,000. So for the entire first part of the game that we were playing in, the only weapons I had access to were the sort of the default weapons for each class. The pistol, the rifle, and all that stuff. Like I only had the default ones, and then these super duper expensive ones that are just reskins of the normal ones. They're just a little bit further down the street.
And they were, I mean, that double barreled you guy was quite powerful, but
Sure, it sure was, but it was only 2 shots.
yeah.
When you have a combat shotgun that has like 7, 8 rounds in the gun before you got to reload it. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I really that was another sort of big gripe about the co-op. There has to be some way that you can integrate that so that we can both get progression. And if you're not gonna do that, at least don't gate entire parts of the game behind progression if you can't progress while you're playing it.
Yeah.
Like that's a little silly. That like luckily I found 2 of the guns. I'm like, yeah, I can get a machine gun and I can get a shotgun at the beginning of the game. Then I'm gonna be sated, but I want to try the other ones.
Yeah, like don't advertise full co-op if it's not really full co-op.
Yeah. Now that we're doing this part right here too, where you're in a plane, there is a bit of an issue about the co-op when you're in vehicles. Like when we were in the seaplanes, I can't do shit. I have to sit and watch, and that's okay for like
Once.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Because then after that, you're just like, okay, well, I guess you're gonna do this entire story mission by yourself, and I'm just gonna sit and watch you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to make it so that like it's blatantly overpowered, but at least I could do something. So I'm not just sitting there, twiddling my thumbs, going, "Wow, look at the mountains." Because that's what I was doing. I was like, "Wow, they have a really pretty game." I'm just gonna watch the game for a little bit while you do your thing.
Right.
Like even with the like in the plane that has the gunner in the back seat, I couldn't do anything with a gun in the back seat because there's nothing to shoot at.
You could shoot at the wing.
And that was it. Yeah, I could try to blow you up, but I couldn't do that because I took the perk that allows me to repair a car while I'm driving it. And being in the back seat counts as driving, so yeah.
So wait, you would shoot the plane and it would repair as you're shooting it?
Yep. That's exactly what happened.
That's funny. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I mean it's definitely it's hard. Like I don't want to go too hard on them for that because like I liked it for the most part, and it's Far Cry 4's multiplayer was kind of just fly around. Like you didn't really wasn't a full like you couldn't go through campaigns missions with it. It was just kind of doing outposts like we are now. And then there was no multiplayer in Far Cry 3. Well, there was like a online multiplayer, but it was totally separate. So yeah, like they've definitely upgraded since then.
For sure.
But yeah, there's some stuff like that. That could definitely have been better. Um, oh, and going back to what I said earlier about like the forced narrative scenes, and then how that happened when like I had to go do something. I didn't want it. Like we could have just force quit the game, and if I had to go, I would have gone, right? But like,
Right.
um, there's only one save for your game. So like, say I did that and something got fucked up, then our save's corrupted. And
Sure.
that hasn't happened with this game for me, but that has happened in other games with only one save. So I think more save files would have just made me sleep easier at night, and maybe I wouldn't have complained as much about some of these forced the forced stuff
Yeah.
if I could have just been like, all right, I'm done playing for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit dog.
If I could have another small criticism, there's two small criticisms I'd like to make.
Yeah.
Number one, they had a lot of emphasis on like this being a nice open world and stuff that you could visit, and it was like nice and pretty and stuff. But you could almost jump from nowhere and do a wingsuit, right? In Far Cry 3, when you got to the second island, you could wingsuit from fucking anywhere. Like you could just jump off and just wingsuit. Here, there's enough of a hill that you're on where you're like, yeah, totally, I could totally just jump and get some air here. But no, you just end up falling and taking fall damage. And then you just end up taking fall damage because you're trying to jump down the hill the whole time. You're like, okay, well, now I lost my elevation and I lost a bunch of my health. So that's fun.
Or in your case, you can fly into a cliff.
Or yeah, and then the other one was there's enough of a jump for me to get some air to do the wingsuit, and then I snap my neck because I hit a fucking branch on a tree. Like I get it. I get it. If I'm actually on a wingsuit and I hit a tree, I'm gonna snap my neck.
Right? We're complaining about too much realism. Or
But-
not enough realism. That's too real.
But yeah, I mean, like if you're gonna tease me with this giant open world that you're like you want to fly in here, right? We've got you a wingsuit. You can fly now. Why don't you let me fly a little bit more, rather than having to get a helicopter and jump into it? Like the other way of doing the wingsuit stuff was to kind of like burn in by fast traveling, and then you get to parachute and wingsuit in. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
Because it's always fun to do that. But like that's the only way to like reliably do that is to fast travel.
Yeah.
And then if there okay, this is the tiniest of tiny gripes,
I like tiny gripes.
but it's still relevant. All three of the brothers had J names, and I kept mixing them up the whole time. I'm like, oh yeah, it's John's the father, right? No, John's the little brother. Jacob's the big brother, and Joseph is the father. But as you start the game, I totally forgot all about that. I was like, we're gonna go kill John. Jacob. Wait, who's Jacob? Fuck John.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just more you. Like, I didn't mind that at all. It made them all. They all did seem like family to me, so I like that aspect of it. And they're all like those are all biblical names too, so it made sense.
Yeah, they did a good job with that. They had a lot of biblical names thrown in there, like Virgil. Yeah, Virgil. I like that one. I like Virgil, even though he was a little like, I'm a little pathetic man who's just an administrator trying to keep things going.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and okay. Yeah, we've complained about this a bit too, but this is Montana. I think there are 300,000 people in Montana on a good day. Like 300,000 people wet, and this is supposed to be a remote county that a cult has taken over. And there are people everywhere.
Yeah, it was very, very busy, especially in John's region.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the game, like there were gunfights that were happening between rebels and rebels and the cult every like tenth of a mile. We were continuously running into them.
Yeah, I think I have a video. I don't know if it's come out yet or if it is coming out, but yeah, it's like most of the video is us trying to go. It's that fucking convoy quest, if you remember, and most of the video is us just trying to get there and just there is
Getting
just
ambushed every time.
World War III happening, which I hate to complain about too much because I actually really that's one of the fun things about open world games, right? It's that is the shenanigans that can happen. Like, oh, I'm going this way, and then you go off into the woods a little bit this way, and then this shit's happening, and before you know it, you're like you're nowhere close to where you were headed. And it's just madness. But it sort of broke the immersion of this being like a remote county
When it was that busy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was fun. Good stuff though. I have some nitpicky things here. It was hard for me to find the outposts on the map, which we found out later. It was just because you have to actually go
Discover
talk.
them.
Yeah, you have to go talk to civilians or find maps. So if you're just in like an outpost hunting kind of thing, go through the whole game first, I guess. And then they'll be there. But
I mean, they still had the same mechanic of like spotting a smokestack in the distance too.
yeah,
Well, I'm spotted already.
I just got spotted too. What else? Yeah, I put microtransactions. You and I don't think you and I played around with that shit at all.
No.
Yeah, but I would be remiss to not point out that they're there. I've seen some reviews claiming, or complaining about how prominent they are. I never felt like they were prominent, but
Yeah, no, they were not at all. It was like, hey, you want to buy this special weapon for currency that you can't get unless you buy money? No, I don't. Okay, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Right, because they also have the ability to buy them with in-game money, which is what I said. I'm gated, but I can buy it with $9,000, and all it is a reskinned double barrel shotgun.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was nothing you couldn't buy with cash, even an absurd amount. Am I right?
Certainly nothing that I looked for that I wanted.
Yeah. Okay.
Like there were some vehicles in there that you could do with that too.
Right. Like I don't want to sound like a microtransaction apologist because I don't think they should be in a fully priced game.
No. No.
But these ones are hardly the worst kind. They're definitely there.
Especially if you can get them in game in other ways.
Yeah, they're definitely there if you want them, but you can also ignore them too.
Yeah, because like if you get enough money, eventually you just buy it.
Yeah.
And it's not, and for the most part, they are just reskins of things that are already in the game that you can get either by story progression or just finding them on the ground. Like I think is there a bow? I think there's a bow that you can buy with silver.
I'll have to look. I don't know. There are two bows, yeah, and one of they're pretty similar. The compound and the recurve. I didn't see one that was just silver bars.
Because there wouldn't be. There would be silver bars and cash.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the double barrel shotgun, there's a machine gun I think in there that is just a reskinned version of the like level 2 or whatever.
Actually, yeah.
So I mean, the microtransactions were not a problem at all. They're stupid and they shouldn't be in there, but they're not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going through the menu right now, and I actually don't see a special bow that's gated off, or that's really pricey. So I know they have the featured things every day. I don't know if they update every day or how that works.
They don't. They seem like they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if so that was part of the other gripe was that they have these microtransaction things available. I almost think it was because of the co-op and the way that they gated the progress for the co-op. Because again, the only way that I could get this 50 cal sniper rifle in your co-op game was to buy it for 7,000 cash which you're not going to get until you're done at least one whole region, or with the silver, which means I got to buy it with money.
Yeah, and like they'll give you some silver. I think in each outpost they'll give you like 40, but like the cheapest thing to buy is like 200 or 300 bars. So
Right, so it's not even worth it.
it's just trying to wet your whistle a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, hey, by the way, if you wanted to skip some of this stuff and get this really cool 50 cal sniper rifle, if you want to spend a little extra money, we don't mind. And that's okay with me because I don't have to buy it. I mean, it doesn't feel good, but I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Like that's not why you're playing the game. But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And yeah, the last thing I put down here under nitpicking is just bullet drop on high-powered rifles.
Was there really? Because I never used them, so I guess I never really got to experience it.
Yeah, so like the lever action, I so and I'm by no means a gun expert, so I could be full of shit here, but like the lever action, I think it's a 45 cal, and like I'm looking at a guy right now. He's maybe, geez, how far away? He's maybe 100 meters away, and it would drop like an arrow. And then some of the high-powered 50 cal rifles later in the game, like they wouldn't drop as much as the lever action, but they'd still drop. And here, actually, I'm gonna look up right now how fast. How fast does a 50 cal bullet travel? 2,700 feet per second. So this is all, and any outpost we're fighting at is well within 2,700 feet per second. All right. So, like, there's no way.
It's like a little more than a kilometer.
Yeah, there's no way they should be dropping that much. Like again, I get it a little bit, and because of, this is a game. It is a physics engine bullet. And it's, depending on how their bullets work in games, like some bullets are actual projectiles, some are just.
For the most part, a lot of the things should be hit scan.
Yeah, what I'm saying is some games have like I think, yeah, is that what it's called? Hit scan or like line scan or something? Like it goes in a straight line, more or less.
Yeah, and it travels instantaneously.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. But some games, the bullets function like projectiles, like an arrow. So I just
like in oh god, Tribes Ascend, the game they used to play competitively forever.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I get bullet drop being there, but for the high powered sniper rifles, it felt a little silly having to aim, higher, like significantly higher than I was aiming for, just to hit my target that's only 300 feet away.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I mean, again, that's a nitpicky thing, and that's something that you play a little bit and you get used to. So.
There's another thing to consider while you're actually aiming. Yeah.
So I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know how much you've played Counter-Strike or Counter-Strike Source back in the day, but you could get, like, I used to be on point with sniper rifles because, yeah, it went exactly where you pointed it pretty much, and I don't know how accurate that was, but they felt good.
I mean, it's a game. You can make it however you want it.
Exactly. Yeah. So my only complaint here is that it felt off, but maybe that's because I'm coming in with the expectations set by another game. So fuck it. So I guess overall, the question for me and for you is, would you rebuy it? Because both of us spent $60 on it, so we both paid full price.
So I would buy it again if we got the experience that we had, because it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like it kind of sounds like we're bitching and griping here, but I had a blast playing it, especially playing it co-op with you. And I think if you're going to play it, that's the way you should play it. You should play with a friend all the way through.
Yeah, it just has more. Like I said, every game is better co-op if you can swing it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially playing with a friend. Like if you're playing with a random person online, less so. But if you're playing with a friend, yeah, absolutely. Like if you're playing Left 4 Dead with a bunch of randoms online, probably less exciting than it would be playing with friends. But
Yeah, it's tough because I played all of Far Cry 3 and all of Far Cry 4, and I had a lot of fun playing those games as well. But yeah, there's something about exactly what you said. There's something about playing it co-op with a friend, just running through the world, being a fucking being a terrorist to terrorists. It's just very fulfilling. And despite all the little bitching and the gripes, yeah, I would pay $60 again for it under the same conditions. And I think even if I wasn't playing with you, if I was playing by myself, I still would. I've always been a fan of the Far Cry series and just the gameplay in general, the sneaky, the both the sneaky and the chaotic, Rambo like gameplay. But yeah, I guess if you're not a fan of high octane first person shooter action, you wouldn't like it. But then this game wouldn't be on your radar anyways.
yeah, yeah. If I was playing this by myself, I don't think I would buy it full price. I might buy it later, but meh.
Meh.
Cause I mean, the whole reason I even bought it in the first place was to play co-op with you. So, yeah, with that stipulation, yeah, totally would. But if I was going to play by myself, no, I probably would not. It's because I played Far Cry 3, and while I enjoyed my time with it, I didn't finish it because I didn't like the way it went. So, yeah. There is a Peggy in this. Okay, this is a bug. There is a Peggy in this. You see where he is?
Oh yeah, he's in a shed or whatever.
Yeah, you can't get in that shed. That's a bug.
It's okay.
That's okay.
All right, word, brother. That's I went through all my points. You got anything else?
Yeah, let me see if I have anything.
Let me go AFK in the middle of this.
That we have. Well, yeah, I have it on a notepad on my desktop.
I'll protect you. I'll protect you.
All right, so I mean, some of it's gonna have the spoilers, so I guess we'll save that one for later.
Yeah, we'll save that.
The other thing, I don't know if we talked about it too much, but I'd like the communities and the way that the like region progression happened, not story progression, but region progression, where after a certain point, you hit that new threshold, and then the community itself gets stronger, and the cult itself also gets stronger because they're reacting to you.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that a lot. That was pretty cool. Because like in John's region specifically, once you progress past a certain point, they sent the Chosen after you, so you always felt like there was going to be, oh hey, we always gotta keep in mind that there's going to be dudes in the sky trying to shoot at us now.
Yeah.
And that they sent out that tank thing, and and the roadblocks. Like it felt like they were reacting to you. So that was fun. I liked that. And then also by getting outposts and stuff like that and increasing the resistance of the area, they also got stronger too. So you'd see them on the roads, and that's why I felt so busy, right? When we were in John's region, especially, like there were patrols of resistance members fighting against patrols of the cult, and that was pretty cool because it's like, hey, cool, there's guys over here we can save.
Yeah.
Or in our case, mostly do friendly fire and then make them shoot at us.
Yeah, it made the world feel absolutely alive. It's too alive in some cases, but
rather have too much than not enough.
That's true.
So yeah, I like that. The characters were a mixed bag.
Right.
Some of the characters I really enjoyed were like John in particular. I really enjoyed his character, just how he was.
Yeah, like this weird like cult corporate administrator almost, who's also a total fucking torturer psychopath.
Yeah. Um, Joseph was cool. He wasn't quite as memorable, I think, as someone like Voss was,
Hmm.
or like Pagan Min.
Well, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't get that much screen time, and we can talk about that more in the spoilers section. But yeah, he was fairly absent in my opinion. Like he sort of
Yeah.
pops up. He pops up once in each. Like he pops up at the beginning, and then he pops up once at each region, and then he pops up at the end, and then that's it.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like you were there. There didn't feel like much incentive to actually want to go capture or fight him. Whereas with the boss in Far Cry 3, he was constantly messing with your shit. And by the time you actually get in a final confrontation with boss, you're like, man, fuck this guy. And why am I tripping balls while it's happening? You know, like, so it felt a lot more satisfying when you actually got a confrontation with him because he was actually messing with you the whole time and he was actually present.
Hmm.
And
Which
you
which
felt animosity for him.
yeah, which leads to like the biggest weakness of Far Cry 3 is that Voss is gone 2/3 of the way through the game. You know.
Yeah, like
So-
what are you gonna do now? That's exactly why I stopped playing. I'm like, I can't just replace my animosity for this character that you've built up the whole game, and then just go, oh yeah, by the way, he had a boss and his boss is a lot worse. I didn't fucking see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see him being worse. But yeah, like how do you get worse than a murdering psychopath? Oh, someone who doesn't murder, he just has other people murder mercilessly for him? Nah, I'm done, thanks. I'm good. I don't need to get off this island anymore. I've lost it. I'm all good now.
That's another video for another day. Why Tiki
Yeah.
didn't like Far Cry 3. It's like this is like 6 years too late, but I'll listen. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but your final. So yeah, you would rebuy, and I would too.
With the assumption that I would be playing co-op, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
If-
under the category of would rebuy either way, but the co-op definitely makes it like I don't want to say a must
That
buy,
much.
but
That much more enjoyable.
yeah, exactly. Heard. Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me, brother, and thanks for taking the time to listen, whoever is listening. Yeah, we're gonna have we're gonna have a spoilers video for you coming up too. Getting deep about all the other shit that pisses off, very specifically.
Yeah, I'll be a lot more angry and well, I'm not gonna be angry or upset. I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna be a lot more complainy pants now.
Right? Like it's hard. It's again, if you I almost feel bad like complaining as much as I feel like we are because again, I really liked the game and it was fun as hell, and it was fun as hell to play with you. But yeah, it's I think what irritates me is the potential. Right? Is that they're so close,
Yeah.
but then they just a few decisions.
They kept it safe.
Yeah. But all right, we'll talk about that in the next video. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and yeah. What's my saying? What's my slogan? Is it shut up and take it slow? I don't know. Is that it?
Yeah, either that or yeah, I think it's it.
Create a slogan. Create a slogan for me, Tiki.
You're gonna need to give me more time than 4 seconds at the end of a video.
so, sounds good. All right, brother. We'll talk more, and everyone else, catch you later. Take it slow.